Okay, thank you, Cicely. Thank you, James, once again. Hope everyone's okay today and having enjoying the nice weather and having a good time so far. So today we're talking about becoming a parent and engaging with services and talking about maternity experience. So Black people are often not known to have good experiences when it comes to maternity. It is often seen as a taboo, as Cicely commented on earlier concerning the Black community. We need to see how our services should improve to help such as more detailed research. With time, people are finding it more important to talk about maternity, especially concerning the Black community. Now, that is the 21st century. Black women are still 4 times more likely than white women to die in pregnancy or childbirth in the UK. And women from Asian ethnic backgrounds face twice the risk, according to a new report. The latest figures on maternal deaths and morbidity cover the period between 2016 and 2018, showing 217 women died during or up to 6 weeks after pregnancy out of 2,235,159 women giving birth in the UK. A further 349 women died up to a year after the pregnancy. Almost all of those who died during or after pregnancy had multiple issues, such as mental or physical health problems, were victims of domestic abuse, or were living in a deprived area. More than half of those who died were overweight or obese. Cardiac disease represents the largest single cause of indirect maternal deaths. Women living in the most deprived areas were 3 times more likely to die than those in more affluent areas. Social services were also involved in the lives of 20% of the women who died, compared with 12% in 2012 to 2014, suggesting greater coordination is needed between social services and maternity care. Interventions to address poverty, bad housing, domestic abuse, and racism are vital. So I just want to leave it there and basically hand over to the wonderful Stella and Shalom. And I think it's going to be a really interesting and important topic today to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tombe, for that always so wonderful introduction. And apologies, everyone, I'm having a bit of technical difficulties again. It's so great to see so many of us in the chat, as per usual. Welcome to our visitors and our regular members as well. So this kind of segment, for those of you familiar, for those of you not, it's just kind of the poll section. So this is the bit where we kind of just want to gauge how everyone's feeling about the topic. Can everyone hear and see me okay? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so we want to kind of just gauge how everyone's feeling about the topic. Today we've only just got 2 questions, about the maternity experience. And yes, after that we can have a discussion on either the questions or just about the topic in general. I don't know, because Tom has already done like an amazing introduction. I don't know if Shalom wants to say anything, or we just kind of go ahead with it.
Yeah, let's do the polls. And then, as usual, I have come with a whole bunch of information, so we can do the polls and then we can begin.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Jamie, I see you got your hand up. Was it in regards to the polls or?
Hello. Hi,
we can hear you.
I'm Jamie Karema. I am a midwife. And it is a very important and interesting topic to bring up. Just wanted to share my own experience and what we are doing in maternity, the Royal Berkshire Hospital, to be specific, as to what we are currently doing in terms of narrowing and dealing with the disparities in terms of maternity care and what we are doing to improve the care that women receive. I hope everybody could hear me.
Yeah. Do you want us to do the polls and then come back to you so we can allow everyone to warm up and then just jump in?
That's fine by me. I've only got a short period of time to stay with you guys though, and then I'll go and
go ahead. Don't worry. Go
I
ahead.
wanted to say or
No
contribute,
problem.
and then I'll go and come back.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Don't worry. Go ahead.
So currently, as we speak, we do have, obviously, I don't know if you guys have heard about Maternity Voices. The Maternity Voices is a group of women, basically, who've come together, who've had their experience from maternity themselves, and they've come together to have a platform where women could talk about their experiences and see how best they could be supported and to improve the care that they've received, whether it was a positive or negative feedback or experience they've had. So one thing is I would encourage women to actually tap into that platform to be able to meet with other women that they can share their experiences. But also currently as we speak, myself and a group of midwives are part of a BAME network. So basically we've got a working group basically wherein we come together and have regular meetings wherein we talk about women's experiences, what have happened, how best we can help and improve the experience women have had. So as we speak in terms of what we do in the hospital and what Maternity Voices are doing currently, we come together and we currently are working on improving that. But for us to be able to know these problems that women are facing, we need to hear from the women. And that for me is a starting point. But as we always know, our communities are very, very difficult to engage and to actually tap into these services and to voice out whatever their problems are or whatever experience they've had, and for us to be able to improve on it. So we do have a survey going on as we speak in maternity, and I'm running that myself and a colleague of mine called Akisha, who is also the BAME lead at the moment. So we're working on that survey that we're doing in partnership with Maternity Voices. And the survey is basically very anonymous. You don't have to give a name. We just want to know where you're from and also what your experiences are. It's got probably about 10 questions that it asks. And basically, we just want women to be honest with us and letting us know what their experience has been like. So from obviously the onset of the first time they actually met a midwife during their booking up to when they've had their baby. So whatever the experience is, they need to just talk to us and just pencil it down so that we can then take that and collate the common themes that women are experiencing, whatever the problems are, and we as a team will be able to come together to be able to address those problems. So that's just a nutshell of what we're currently doing, just so people know that we are working on it. As being an ethnic minority myself, and probably half of us in there are ethnic minorities, we are obviously being a voice and also trying as best as we can to support women out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Jamie. And as everyone has heard, it's very important to improve quality of care and services. So yeah, if you want to take part in that survey and answer so that we can reduce that number, as Tombe said, Black women are 4 times more likely to suffer from or to die in pregnancy or childbirth, and women from Asian ethnic backgrounds face a 2-fold risk. So yeah, let's begin with the polls.
Perfect. And there's also been opportunities to kind of share, how best, services can support during this period as well. So it's just 2 questions. Probably have a lot more to cover as well besides these 2 questions, but I'm just going to launch the polls now. Can everyone see those? Yeah, just either a nod of the head or thumbs up. Also, the first question, how comfortable are you talking about childbirth? Very comfortable, a little bit, or not at all. And second question, do you think women are well supported during the maternity experience? Yes, no, or 50-50.
So for all of the people that are here from a service, please feel free to drop your information in the chat. If you have surveys that you want people to take part in, please feel free to drop that information in the chat. It's very important. We're all here to, support each other. So please make use of the chat.
100%. And even while we even though these are the two questions that we have in the poll, I think an interesting question to kind of reflect on throughout the whole of this Zoom call, probably just how do you think services can provide a better quality of care for expectant parents as well? Just kind of reflect on that, and we can share throughout as well if you're comfortable.
And whilst you're answering the polls, if we just think about what the information that was provided over the weekend. So they mentioned that, a culture of blame has been preventing staff from admitting mistakes and all the lessons that have been learned. It came out that if you compare Sweden to the UK, England's maternity services weren't as safe. And basically 1,000 more babies a year would survive if they were on par with Sweden. And so us being here today is basically, I guess we're doing a service. I guess we can consider it like that, to work together to improve the services that we have. So do you want to end the polls?
Yeah. Perfect. I'll just end the poll now. Share the results. Can everyone see that? Yep. So the first question, how comfortable are you talking about childbirth? So the majority of us said very comfortable, 56%. 25% said comfortable, 19% said a little bit. And the second question, do you think women are well supported during the maternity experience? 25% said yes, 38% said no, and 38% said 50-50. Very interesting results. Kind of a mixture as well. Does anyone want to share, kind of their reason behind
your take?
Or even not just the polls, but anything in general, even just the topic in general.
What do you think about what they've said recently this week, or what Jeremy Hunt has had to say this week on maternity services, or the figures about Black women, about Asian women, the fact that we need 2,000 more midwives, we need 500 more consultants? No? Do you guys all know about Shrewsbury and what happened? Does everyone know about what happened with the Shrewsbury hospital? Is anyone raising their hand?
Might have to tell us, Shalom.
No, well, I mean, it all forms part of the Embrace report. And basically, it's all part of this need to improve maternity services. It's all part of the issue based on how, and I suppose it's very important for us not to place blame, because I suppose this idea of blame culture is this person's fault, it's important not to do that. I suppose when you go into the hospital for your checkup, when you go into your GP for a checkup, you see that they're extremely under pressure. And with Shrewsbury, what happened was there was a desire to put a lot of I hate this word, emphasis on parents to deliver naturally. And unfortunately, that put a lot of stress on the baby. When it was time for them to do a C-section, they wouldn't do it. And that resulted in a lot of babies suffering from brain damage. Some of them died as a result. And in the end, over a period of time from 1970 something to 2014 or something like that, over 1,000 babies, that's what it turned out to be, had suffered, either died or suffered from brain injury as a result of the hospital or the trust putting a lot of emphasis on delivering naturally, and also because they didn't have a lot of consultants, they didn't have enough. And this report basically is looking at how we can improve our services, how we can get more midwives, how we can get more doctors in, and how we can pay attention to what our mothers need, but also not neglecting the fact that when a Black mother is saying, this, I have this pain, I've just given birth, but I don't feel comfortable, for a nurse or anyone to come and say, okay, let me check on you and let me see how I can help you, as opposed to a white mother saying, I feel this pain. Okay, madam, I'm coming to help you. You see, and these were the kind of things that were picked up on in this report. So as you people know, I'm a nerd. I'm always reading. So yeah. So on that note, since we don't have any experiences so far, I would like to bring in Eva. Oh, wait, sorry, I think I had someone's hand up. Rosemary.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I had 2 babies in RBH, and they were both not so good experiences for different reasons. So the first one, I was told I couldn't have babies anyway because I had surgery in 2000. So when I had found out at 19 weeks I was pregnant, it was like, what do I do with this? The interpretation of the professionals were, well, she's over 30, she's a nurse, she knows what she's doing. So I didn't attend any appointments because I just had no idea what I was going to do with a baby. And nobody followed up. I went to no classes. I learned nothing. I read nothing because I did not believe I was going to have a baby. So until the morning that I had the first child, did I even believe I was going to have a baby. And I got there at 8 o'clock. A student nurse looked after me. A student midwife, looked after me. And she couldn't get readings and she was in a panic, went to the handover. And the midwives came, they were in a panic. They got the consultant, and while they were doing all that, no painkillers, no consultation with me. And then the child decided, I am coming out, I can't wait, and at 10:10 he was born. So that was the experience. So he refused to breastfeed, or I just couldn't breastfeed, or whatever it was. And then midwives refused to feed me because they said only breastfeeding mothers were allowed food. So then we had to find somebody to cook something to bring it for me. But that was the first experience. The aftercare was just as bad and he's autistic as most people know. Second child, in my 40s, a little more prepared, under consultant because I'm over 40 then. And then had the baby induced and they were ready to let me go home. But my friend said, no, something don't look right with you. And then I went to pee, or what I thought was to pee, and I just felt the shooting pain on my leg. I said, well, that's strange. Why have I got a shooting pain on my leg? So I tried to explain what it is, but people assume you're in a profession, so you know everything. And I think it was after an hour of trying to explain what happened, and I'm not sure what happened because I blacked out. They realized I've had a DVT and a PE nearly. So that was my experience of my second maternity in RBH. But I've got 2 beautiful children now. And luckily I have a lot of friends and midwife friends that were able to support me through them.
Wow, thank you for sharing that with us, Stacey. Wow. I think before I bring Cicely in, there's a question in the chat that Sarah's put in. So Jamie, what are your thoughts of NICE NICE, recommendation to induce labour at 39 weeks in ethnic minority women. Oh,
I don't
you're
think
muted.
I think Jamie might not be on there now.
No, she's still here.
She says it's okay.
You're muted, Jamie.
Oh, my apologies. Sorry. I'm still here. I'll be going in probably 2 minutes. However, I'll quickly try and answer the question. In terms of the whole idea, I am strongly against it. I don't feel we should really be imposing, inducing women just because of their race or their ethnic minority. I think we should be looking at the individual, look at their individual history, medical history, circumstances, and tailor their care to that individual. I don't believe in this generic form of actually inducing women because of their ethnic, and I don't think that's going to be able to answer or to reduce the percentage of women who are obviously influencing the numbers in terms of how many women we have in having obviously problems with pregnancies and contributing to the numbers that they're trying to reduce. It feels to me like their focus is more about the numbers and not as individuals, and treating women as people, as women, as the individuals. And I feel it's the wrong route to actually follow. However, we have to be speaking and actually engaging and contributing into forums like this so that our voices are heard. Because the problems we are having as ethnic minorities, when we go to these platforms and stand there and talk, when we don't have representatives, when we don't have people that can actually give us that evidence that we are strongly saying against or working against these things, it's very difficult for us to be able to speak or for our voices to be heard when we don't have you people to support us, to follow us. And so I would say what we're doing is fantastic. And my heart goes out to the lady who just shared her experience with us. It almost feels like hard to believe that in this modern day that things like that would be happening. I'm so sorry that you had that experience. But we as midwives, because I had both my kids at the RBH as well, I didn't have that experience. I've got my own experience I've had, which are different from yours, but at the same time, we've got to obviously sympathize with you and respect you for even taking up this opportunity to even share such experience with us. And we can take that on board and actually take it to the maternity unit and see how best we'll be able to make a difference so that somebody else doesn't undergo the same thing as you did.
Thank you so much, Jamie, for that response. I hope that kind of answered your question, and Sarah as well. Also, thank you just everyone for sharing. I know this is a very sensitive topic. So thank you for I can see Rachel has her hand up. Rachel?
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, I came in a little bit late, and I just want to get a clear of the question that you actually wanted us to answer, because I overslept. I just woke up and I said, oh, I haven't joined it yet, and I joined it. So yeah, if you don't mind telling me what's the question, please.
Yeah, sure, no worries. I mean, so we had the poll questions. Oh, sorry, I can't even remember them off my head. Bear with me. So it's how comfortable are you talking about childbirth? Do you think women are well supported during the maternity experience? And also just kind of thinking about how you think services can provide a better quality of care to expectant parents. I mean, don't have to specifically answer those questions, but that's just kind of the basis of today's topic or conversation.
Yeah. Once more again, I just want to appreciate you guys for doing such brilliant program. Thank you all very much, in Reading, for taking such initiative bringing those things on board. I think one of the things that, or this question that you're asking would be like a thing that we should, things that are long overdue for the government or any institution where we are, for them to take that lead role. I think most of the thing is lack of knowledge in a sense that they don't study us well. They just assume that everything with us, or a Black person, or any other person in this country, if you're not from the English background, not being, kind of racist or anything, they haven't studied us at all. They just assume that everything about us is okay. Us, every one of us, we are the same, because they never gone through to do that study. For instance, if something happened, they will say that, oh, we are strong people. I had 3 children in this country, and I thank God because of my background, the way I was brought up. Because, back home, when we are growing up, we tend to be there to look after our siblings, seeing how my mom, how the family household look after the children, and you kind of help, you contribute quite a lot, and that makes you a stronger person, which is completely different from children who are born here in this country. For instance, once when I had my second child, when I was growing up, I was told that immediately, even though I didn't have a child, I was a small girl, but we grow up with those experiences that when a child is born, that child needs to be washed immediately to, get rid of when they are growing up. I don't know, for some reason, our people says those things, but it was just meant to be like a learning curve now when I think about it, to get rid of bad odors and all those kind of things. So I had this in my mind, that a child who is born does not need to sleep in that field when the child is born. So when I had my first one, lucky enough, I have family members here. One of them went to the hospital and decided to help me to bathe my daughter. And then we have to draw the curtain, and she was bathed, and then, apply cream and all sort of things. And she was fine. Same as the second one. Nobody went, but when I'm going to the hospital, I know what is in my bag to carry. Yeah, like shea butter, we call it in our African language, doni, or whatsoever. So I took that with me. So when I had my son, and I said to the midwife, one of them, I said, do you mind, please, can I get hot water? Because I really want to, bathe my son. And I was told, no, you're not allowed to do that, because the child has to be until they are ready for me to bathe that child. And I was saying, no. I'm not going to leave my child, because I had a child in the evening. I'm not going to leave that child till the following day for how many hours before I could bathe the child. But lucky enough for me, because I work for the same trust, so I know the in and out, where the kitchen is, where everything is. So I went to the kitchen, and I did collect some water and everything. I came in and I washed my son. I washed the hair, everything. They told me that it with my own, if anything happened to my son, I will not blame them, because I'm not supposed to bathe the child. But I said, okay, I don't mind. I said to myself, God knows I'm doing that because I need my son to be clean. I've got this thing in me, even though whether it exists or not, but this is what our people say psychologically. I'm not going to let my son to sleep in that field. So I did wash my son, clean the head, everything, and I apply our natural, the shea butter, everything. And guess what? The whole of the night, they came telling me that, oh, your son is the best in the building. He never cried. He was so good. And the other child next door was constantly crying. They are pressing the buzzers for the nurse's assistant, and I'm thinking that, okay, this is the thing. You don't, even adults, I know it's a baby. When you are so much, you feel that you're dirty, you don't feel clean, I'm not sure you're going to have a comfortable night. And because I had this, I always go with the plastic spoon, and that I put hot water and I gave it to my son. And then he did the first, pool. They said, oh, what was the color? Because this is what naturally I seen my parent doing. But because our culture is not being studied in this place, they do kind of assume, they want to say that we are all the same, but they haven't gone to that length to kind of learn any cultural aspects from us. And that is where the problem is. There's so many to learn from us than assuming that every individual, everybody is the same, even though we are following the same culture. We know that, yes, they are trying to accept us, but there are certain things that they could do just to extend it a little bit to know our background, and then they will be able to do things at least a little bit better. That's my own, stake for now in this issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Rachel. I see we've got a couple of hands up, but before we answer your hands, before we answer your questions, I'm just going to let Cicely come in.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sharon and the team, and the great contributions so far. And especially that element of culture coming in. Rachel, thank you for that. And the input that Jamie has had so far. Now, we have Constance and Florence with us. And in the way of setting the context, setting the scene and making sure that we inform the services around as to issues that we are battling with, and why the poor experience so far. Now we have Constance, who has great experience of working with some communities where mortality rate has been low. And we also have Florence, who is a midwife for many years and a lecturer, and continues to educate the communities in matters of healthy food. So it would be nice to hear from them, and then we can come back to, or rather we can continue with the conversations. So over to you. I don't know who wants to come first, Florence or Constance, so that we continue setting the scene to answer the question we are trying to address.
Okay.
Okay. Constance, you're talking and you're muted.
Can Constance go first? Okay, Constance, that's fine.
Yes, okay, that's all right now.
Florence, I need to go first because I was going to text you this same question sometime today, because when I was on the womb course, there was no time for me to ask it. So I need to go first because you'll answer my question today. Now, in relation to the statistics that we've been reading about or even experiencing, it's understood that non-white women, especially women of African descent, tend to have lots of problems with delivery. And one of the problems seemed to be having the placenta retained, as well as bleeding quite a lot after delivery. And I'm wondering if the position that a woman occupies here in the West when she's delivering her baby has anything to do with it. Because I've worked in Guyana extensively. I've worked with the Amerindians. You know what an Amerindian is? It's like a Red Indian, like the American Red Indian and the Aborigines maybe in Canada. Well, we have Amerindians in South America. And those women never have PPH, they never have postpartum hemorrhage. And what they actually do is that when they're in labor, they tend to continue doing their work. And when it's about time for them to bear down and push, as we've seen on TV, they just go down on their knees. And it's much more than a sport. They go down on their knees, so they're settled on their knees, and the baby comes out. They catch the baby's head, and guide the baby out. And shortly after, the placenta comes out, tumbles out. And there's just minimal bleeding. There's not this gush of, 1 liter of blood or even 500 mils of blood, or, yeah. And that woman would get up and she's fine again. Another part of it is that in our maternity units in South America, we liked it when the woman has never had a child before and she's never been in a Western type hospital, which means that she's never been in the main hospital in the country. Because in the main hospital, they tend to use the Western type of position of the woman to deliver. When the woman is having her first baby and she's in the admission room or in the labor ward, she again would go down on her knees. If you don't instruct her at all, she just goes down on her knees and that baby comes out and there's no bleeding, there's no laceration. But when we put them to lie down on the bed, and even if we put their legs up, they still get lacerations. And it takes maybe 4 or 6 hours more for that woman to deliver. But the point I'm making here with the second situation is that the untaught woman seems to go into a very natural position. And I like to think that that's the position that Eve took when she was having her children, because there were no teachers around, nobody to say, well, you lie them on your side, you do this, you do that. And these women, they just go down on their knees and this baby just comes out quickly. No lacerations, no bleeding. So Florence, some time ago in the late 60s, because that's when I was trained in 1968, 69, 70, some consultants from Albany Medical College in America went to Guyana, went to South America, and they were just making anecdotal notes. They weren't doing any sort of empirical research. They were just taking an anecdotal information. And they were amazed at what was happening to these Amerindian women, that they were delivering quickly with no complications. So I don't know what you have to say about that, Florence.
Wow. Thank you for putting me on the spot there, Sister Constance. I really appreciate you and the whole program. Hello, everyone. My name is Florence McKinday. I am a midwife. I'm also a woman who has had children and has experienced working for the NHS for 20 years as a midwife. I come today to congratulate you for bringing up this topic. It is passionate to me as an individual. It is something that I'm so anxious to get some research done so that I can give answers to everyone. I'm going to start off by introducing the topic, Black women dying in childbirth. And I would have shared screens today, but it's not about a presentation. It's about getting down to the facts and to the figures. And I have a few reasons, and Constance, I am coming to your question because that is a very powerful question. I have a few reasons why I feel Black women are dying in childbirth. And some of those reasons I've highlighted in several presentations that I've done over the last few years. To take it back, way back in 2009, I was invited to Nigeria to teach doctors, nurses, midwives about obstetric emergencies. In 2011, I was called again by another team while working at Royal Berks. So again, Royal Berkshire is coming up in Reading. I was called off to Uganda. And in Uganda, again, we found that a PPH is quite prevalent and sepsis was the reason for women, again, dying in childbirth. And 2019, just before the COVID pandemic, I was called out again to Nigeria. And this time it was called the Nigerian Healthcare Project. All three separate programs. And they, it was just because of my passion and desire as a midwife to actually do something for the community. Now, what I found, my findings, very different from what's happened in Guyana, Sister Constance, is that PPH, postpartum hemorrhage, was very prevalent in the west of Africa and in Uganda. And the main causes of PPH, postpartum hemorrhage, and sepsis was mainly because the women were struggling, with childbirth. Again, I think there was a lack of continuity of care and delays. There were delay factors in getting these women into the maternity services or getting the support that they required at delivery. Some of the other pieces of research what I've recently read are some of the injections which are supposed to stop the bleeding, you know, like the ergometrin and the oxytocin that we give after the baby's born, before the placenta is delivered. These medications were not being maintained at the correct temperature. And so what you had was an injection going into to stop the women from hemorrhaging, but the injection was not effective. It was being maintained at the wrong temperature, kept in the wrong place. Maybe the fridge wasn't working, there was no light or electricity supply. And so therefore the women were given injection, which had nothing to do with stopping the bleeding, and women were still bleeding to death. Now, I have so many horror stories, which I don't want to share here because this is not a forum to share sad news. It's about what can we do and what are the solutions. And so one of the things I highlighted was I did a country comparison. And so in the country comparison, you can see maybe on the screen, I can't share, but I can show you this slide here, that basically Sierra Leone in 2015 had the highest death rate of 1,360 per 100,000 women. Nigeria was second in league, which was 814, and Kenya 510. However, I came back to the UK only to find out that unfortunately it's happening here. And what you have here in the UK is very alarming statistics, whereby the Embrace report has highlighted that Black women are 5 times more likely to die in childbirth. And so you've got a situation here where women are coming in from Africa. They're coming in from Asia. They're coming in from Guyana, Uganda, Kenya. They're coming in from all over the world. Guess what? They are not leaving their problems behind. They are still carrying issues such as cultural issues, traditional fears, family secrets, female genital mutilation. I know Jamie is the expert on that. Rape, adoption, fears of disclosing information in case they're going to be stigmatized. They are also coming into a country where they unfortunately may not get the jobs, and therefore they're on the lower spectrum of the pay. They are unable to speak up in pain because traditionally, maybe in Guyana is an excellent example, how much noise does a woman make when she's in labor, when she's delivering her baby? Whereas you come to the Western world and, you know, for someone like me who's half and half, and I'll explain that in a moment, I will scream because pain is pain. But it has been noted that, you know, the Black women can take the pain, and that's another question that we need to address. And then there's also the lack of support in terms of nutritious diet. And so what happens is the lower paid income people, they will eat the unhealthy food and put on weight. And as we've heard from the very first presenter, excellent presentation, by the way, that obesity is one of the major problems that Black women have again. Okay, and then we have, very sadly, domestic violence. And so I'm proposing and I'm suggesting that strongly we need to look at several factors here. And I will address Sister Constance's question first. Women in certain cultures are trained to work up until the day that they deliver their babies. They are mobile. They are not sat on the bed. They are not lying down in a semi-recumbent position. They are actively mobile. And as a result, when it's time to bear down, they will go on their knees and they will deliver. I have seen it myself. And you bring that side of a woman into the UK, they will eat, drink, what's the most, you know, our traditional diet here is fish and chips. They put on weight. They're not used to this. And then their bodies now are not active as they've used to be in Africa, and they are obese and at risk of postpartum hemorrhage. They are also at risk because some of the Black cultures have specific blood types, and not many people know what blood group they have, or did they inherit a sickle cell gene, or, and I can go on and on. There are so many factors. And this is why I'm interested in doing the research, to try and find a solution. Now, so yes, in Guyana, we have an excellent example of how Black women should be mobile. In the UK, we can compare it. We sit them down on the bed, on the couch, legs up, in that semi-recumbent position. Is that what every Black woman needs? And then we have what we call the birthing center, where I've worked at the Royal Berks myself for over about 9.5 years. They have beautiful balls and they have gadgets that women can use to roll on, to move around and mobilize. What we should be looking at is the outcome of those women who are active, more successful and prevalent, with one-to-one care from a professional midwife who understands and has a tailor-made program for this delivery. That should be what we're looking at to see, is the outcome any better? By the time we start to medicalize every Black woman under the sun, Asian or Black, we are going to get into more difficulties, because there's what we call medicalization. Medicalization, bringing in induction at 39 weeks, is a medical input. Some natural births will take place if the woman is left alone for nature to deal with.
Yes.
I hope, Mr. Constance, I've answered your side of the question.
Yes, thank you very much. Amen.
All right, thank you. Now, 2 other points I'm going to leave you with today, because I'm not the only speaker. I know there are other speakers. Number 1, we need our men involved in this. There is no pre-pregnancy counseling. Why is it that we wait until we are pregnant, we hide the pregnancy, then we run to the labor ward and we expect miracles? We need education, education for our men. This is a time to look after your woman like the queen. Treat her like the princess. She is carrying your child. These men need to be educated in the correct way. They need to be taught what to expect. They need to know where to massage on the back. They need to know when to take a woman. Sorry, sisters, I'm going on to... Seriously, if any man is listening, I'm telling you now, my husband, he is an angel. He knew what to do to put water on my back, to massage and take me in. And I told him which hospital I wanted to deliver my baby in. And through the grace of God, it happened. We need to train our men. There is no point in us hiding the pregnancy and then getting domestically abused because we are hiding something and we don't want them to touch us. We don't want to feel loved. This is not the time for it. It's a time for unity and cooperation between the couple. They must attend the antenatal classes together. Let me ask another question, and I don't know whether it's been researched. How many of us Black couples attend antenatal clinic? Seriously, we will say it's not for us. Seriously, it is. This is when you make your voice known. You say what is concerning you about your fears, your taboos, your personal interests, your concerns, anything. That's the time to discuss it and have a tailor-made plan for you to have a safe delivery outcome. So what am I saying? Men need to be involved. Pre-pregnancy counseling needs to be done. The government needs to support a lot more Black people, women particularly, to know about their bodies. And if you want the midwives to come from the ethnic minority groups, then they need to be looked after. They come into the NHS, they need to be groomed, prepared, ready. They will stay if they're well looked after. I did 20 years because I love the job and I was looked after. I'm saying now we need to look after our midwives if we want them to stay in the profession. Let me rest my case. I'll speak later.
Thank you so much. Oh, I think there's quite a few people with hands up. Thank you so much, Florence, for that very in-depth and like really educational contribution. I've even definitely learned a lot. I think we've definitely got a couple of hands up. So Sister Lorraine, Sister Nordia, and then Sister Constance.
Okay.
Do I speak now?
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely wonderful, ladies. I'm sitting here and I'm chuckling a little bit, you know, because I know that as mothers, we have challenges when we embark on having our children. I mean, my first experience was with my son. I carried him. Everything was all right until the, the day I gave birth. He was fine. Everything went all right, but there were two people on the ward with the same surname. And I, regardless of how much I tried to convince this lady that I was not down for an injection, because there was something with the other lady's placenta, and they had to give her an injection in order for that to be put right. And unfortunately, I ended up getting the lady's injection. And at the end of it all she could come back and say to me was, Mrs. M, I'm so sorry. And you know, it seems that there are times when we end up in these wards, we have no voice. And as one of the ladies said, we need to have representatives, somebody who can have a voice for us where when we feel we have no voice. So that was my worst experience. My children were born very healthy, and they're still healthy. But before Constance and this other lady spoke, the previous speaker said something about studies that have been made. Yes, studies have been made, but I think in all those studies, although there were positive findings which could be worked upon, I don't believe they are taken serious enough in order that we as a people of color will gain the benefit. It's as though they're saying, okay, we know what we've found, but we have not got the time to administer what needs to be administered as it ought to be. And this, I think, we're still being marginalized and put on an unnecessary waiting list, if I can put it that way. You know, if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me, but I don't think we are being taken seriously. I shared once that I did an examination. I got 100%, but the lady looked at me and said, hey, no one is that good. So I still say, as my sister just said, support the midwives so that they can do greater things and work on our behalf, on our children's behalf. And again, the education of husbands is important, because most husbands shy away from these things. And I think it's very, very important. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, hi there. Yeah, very interesting topic. And like Sister Florence, yeah, just one that I'm really passionate about. As I've been a midwife as well. And I think one of the major issues, because interesting, the point that Sister Constance said about why women in Guyana delivered so easily compared to now, and it's medicalization. That's the major issue. And I think the more we become educated, the more harm we sometimes do. Because women, like you say, would naturally adopt a birthing position optimum for birthing their babies. But number one, remember, Black women are living outside of their culture. They're living outside of their very skin. And they go into a medicalized environment, and they're not being cared for by somebody who looks like them, who thinks like them, who understands them. And so that's a major issue, I think, within the healthcare setting. And what they do need, as Florence said, is advocacy. And that's something that they need to do themselves, is to make sure that they come to the labour room fully informed, that they have got, and it doesn't have to be your husband who, or your partner who comes to the labour room with you. It needs to be somebody who can advocate for you in the event that you're unable to do so yourself. And lots of research has been done into the advantages of having a woman, a birthing woman. You know, it gives, because I think quite often wives feel that they need to be supporting their husband whilst they're the one in labour. So they'll be constantly going, "Are you okay, love? Are you okay? You sure? Let's something." And so I do feel that the psychological impact needs to be looked at, and that we need to be honest with ourselves as women about who would be the best person to be with me in childbirth. So who could advocate for me in the event that I need someone to advocate for me? Be informed, do your research, and again, be honest about whatever it is your healthcare status might be. You know, so if you have had female genital mutilation, let us know about that. You know, if you're fearful about giving birth, which a lot of women are, say that. If you would prefer a black midwife, say that. You know, because I think sometimes there is delay in care because we are already at a disadvantage as black people. And I say that as somebody who's worked in the healthcare setting all of my working life, that it's a disadvantage. And I've seen that because I've advocated for my people all the way through my working life, and it's a battle. So you need more black midwives. We need black women and their partners to be educated. And speak up, let your voice be heard. And that's really my, so it's about empowerment. And complain if you need to. And don't feel any way about saying, I'm not happy with this that has happened to me. Yeah, so that's my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia. Thanks.
Okay.
Good to hear from you.
And you too, my darling.
Thank you so much, Nadia, for that your contribution. Sister Constance next, and then Sister Rachel, and then.
Hi, Sister Nadia. It's really good to see you. And I support what you said just now, especially in relation to advocacy, because that was one of the points I was going to raise anyway. And we have to emphasize that over and over again about advocacy, because if we are living in a society that is generally prejudiced, how then can we expect not to find prejudice in every walk of life? So to me, it's a normal and natural, when I say normal and natural in inverted commas, it would be a norm in a hospital situation to find prejudice, and that goes back to the first, the thing that we had, the questions that we had, and where there was 50-50 in relation to the question about support. Some people in hospital would feel supported, maybe half of them, because they look a certain way, maybe because they're educated a certain way, maybe because they could stand up for themselves and advocate for themselves. And the other half of the people, they're going to be bypassed because we live in a prejudiced society. And we're asking somebody who has these unconscious biases to relate to us in a positive way. It's impossible. And for that reason, we really need to have people in our community, they could be black, white, red, or whatever, who could stand as advocates for us when we go into hospital, people who could ask the correct questions, people who understand the words that are being used. Okay. Now, the other thing is what I want to talk about, comment on, is what Florence said about our women not attending antenatal clinic the way in which they should, that many women don't go to antenatal clinic. I think that Rosemary, maybe if I get it wrong, Rosemary could always tell me off. I think that Rosemary, she was talking, she said that she really didn't turn up at the clinic. She didn't go anywhere. And we tend to be like that. And I think that what we can do in England generally is just take a pattern from the Australians, that in Australia, if you don't vote, you go to jail. And if you're pregnant, you have to go to prenatal care. You have to, or you go to jail. It's as simple as that. All right. And the next one is this thing about men in the, sorry, I said this thing, you know, I'm just an old person. I just use old language. About men being in the labor ward. Now, Sister Florence, childbirth is traditionally women's business. You go through the Bible, no man was ever there. It was always the women who were there. And I think some sort of research was done maybe about 15, 20 years ago, which showed that they were looking at the incidence of divorce in early marriage. And they found that the couples who, in the majority, the couples who were getting divorced, maybe after the first baby or the second baby, divorced on the grounds of adultery, that this guy went out and he found another woman somewhere. That man had spent time in the labor ward with his wife when she was delivering. And he really didn't like what he saw. It just turned him off. She couldn't turn him on anymore. So he had to go and find another sex partner. And if you talk to the women from my generation, we don't want any man in the labor ward. We want him sitting down on the bench or somewhere, and he would hear the baby cry like in the old days. And you know, he would be shown the baby. But we don't want him to come and see us in this lithotomy position and everything exposed and all of that. In my generation, we don't want that at all. Delivery, I'm advocating, is childbirth is women's business. That's all, Sister Florence.
Can I respond to that? Can I respond to that, Sister Constance?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Can I just interrupt you guys? I'm so sorry, because we've still got two people that want to share. So I know this conversation is just like, it's really going on today. But can I just let Eva come in, because she had her hands up earlier.
Oh dear.
I'm so sorry.
Hello, everybody. Very nice conversation that's going on. I think I'll touch on what Sister Rachel was talking about, getting more research done. So there is research. I'm actually one of the researchers that's doing a research in Reading in regards to maternal health and mental health and a combination of COVID. I know that we've always had issues with access. There's loads of problems. There are things that need fixing. And I think people are listening. And as I said, as much as we have to keep doing the research and presenting our findings. So I'm really interested to find out also how people can access the services. So I will be reaching out to the lovely nurses and midwives we've got on here just to get their experiences and to learn more about it. But just to say, there is a lot of funding that's going around, and it's commissioned by the CDSC in relation to Reading Borough Council as well, just to get to understand the ethnic minority problems. And especially this is going to be generally relating to Reading. So let's also look at it that we can share these experiences to change things. I know they've always said that, but hopefully with our voices, we can continue to let things go, to make a change. And also something also that's also been included is digitization as well. How has that affected maternal health? So I'll be reaching out to you and to see whether this has helped things or avoided things. Because then, as we had just rightfully, Sister Constance was talking about men being allowed, but look at it, COVID. Women were giving birth by themselves, no partner, man or woman, nobody was allowed in. how has that affected people? So we need to look into that. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'm grateful to continue listening to the conversation, and I'll be reaching out to you guys individually. Thank you, and I'll put my details on the chat. So if you've got something you need to share as well, please do.
Thank you so much for that, Eva. And as we've said, it's very important for us as ethnic minorities to really engage each other, engage the community, engage service providers, to really research and participate in research. I liked a little bit of what Constance said. I don't know if I'm all for sending people to jail if they don't turn up to their antenatal appointments. I was like, okay, to a certain extent. But on that note, we've got Laura here. And I know she has some wonderful information to provide us with, and just to contribute to this important conversation that we've been having. Laura, are you still here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me at all?
Yes, we can.
Yes. I just give you a little disclaimer. My son is in a bubble. He's 2.5-year-old, and he might wake up from his nap and you might see him. You might meet my mini-me. I just, so as it was hinted at the start, I work for the wider region, Berkshire, Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire. And part of the transformation that we're trying to make in mental health is to improve the care. But when we look at the information, improving care is not just improving the offer, but who this offer goes to. And as I started looking into it, unfortunately, what it looks like at the moment is women from diverse backgrounds and also some disabilities, suffering from some disabilities, tend to be represented in the much more critical or serious end of our services. So in the mother and baby units or the crisis teams. And for me, it's a clear indicator that we don't do enough to reach and identify mental health difficulties in that period on time for this population. But I don't know if it's this issue of identifying, but as you pointed in quite a few of your talks, it's a question of education and the way difficulties present, or assuming that what would be difficult for me would be wrong, that to assume that it would be the same for others, which is why I reached out to Cecily initially. I do agree, we do need to be more educated and more understanding. However, just the training is not sufficient. Meeting and today, what I've heard was extremely valuable. I never know what will come out of such chats or discussions and meetings, and I'm coming away with something that I wasn't expecting. I thought I would hear direct input from you all in terms of what we need to change in the mental health services. And that's not at all what I'm taking. What I'm taking is in the maternity, you have leaders in the services who are such champions to the change that need to happen. And then that brings the topic to the table. Today, we didn't really mention mental health difficulties and how services might be unfair or hard to reach for you guys. And I do think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we're lacking these champions. We're lacking people who have that experience. I do have experience of maternity. I have experience of mental health difficulties. But of course, I'm white in a society of white people, a majority, where the majority is white. So it's, yes, you've taught me a lot actually, and you've taught me how little I actually know, and it's a great place to be. So I'm just wondering how we could replicate such a forum in Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire to have this movement grow. And if any of you is willing to work with me or suggest it, I would be immensely grateful. That's all for me. I don't have, unfortunately, the solution other than areas where I need to, we need to develop as mental health services.
Thank you so much for that, Laura. And I think it's interesting, like you said, we haven't really spoken about mental health today. But obviously mental health is a very important part of our conversations and what we do speak about. I am not going to waffle on because it's almost time to round up, but we've got 5 hands raised. So I think, was it Nadia that had her hand up?
And also Shalom, as
yes.
Nadia comes in, it's worth mentioning from the earlier forums around the issues or cases we have had or experiences of people who have had mental health through childbirth, after childbirth, which have been shared in the forum before very well. And because of that, there are a few mental health first aiders who have been crucially important in supporting such women along. Just thought I'd bring that up.
Thank you so much for that, Cicely. So Nadia, would you like to?
Yeah, yes, I thought I'd just mention on mental health as well, you know, from a Black perspective, because I do feel that sometimes Black people are not understood when we are being who we are, being cultural in our expression of self. And it was very interesting, you know, I'll just share this with you, that I was on a forum the other day where a psychology doctor said that because of the issue of race and racism that we live in every day, Black people do suffer from mental ill health, and also they suffer from their life being cut short. And she said the research that they've done in America would suggest that our lives are impacted and shortened by many years, 30 to 50 years, you know, because people, as we know, a lot of our people are dying quite young. And I do feel that the mental health services, and it's you know, it's interesting that so many of us end up there, and that's because we're living under the pressure. We're in the pressure cooker. Oh yeah.
That's a very valid point, to be honest. We are living in and under the pressure cooker.
Yeah.
It's a shame, really. And it's, I suppose the one thing we didn't touch on was how the coronavirus has really impacted. I mean, we talk about it a lot lately, but the coronavirus has really impacted on so many aspects of everything. So with the maternity aspect, with everything, our well-being, but everything is further compounded with COVID, and it's further just making, for other people, they're finally able to see what women, Black minorities, ethnic minorities are going through. It's a shame, really, but that it takes something like this to make people sit down and listen. So yeah, this pressure cooker is really boiling over.
Oh, sorry, Shalom. Even the way that people, like say if your sister was in hospital, you'd be by her bedside, and so would your mom and your dad and all the family, and that's what we are used to. You know, at the moment, my 95-year-old auntie's in hospital, and I would be at her bedside, but that's not possible. So the impact on the whole family, you know, it just exacerbates our mental health so much.
I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope she gets better very soon.
Thank you.
Rachel, you've got your hand up.
Yeah. Hello again. I just want to say I was listening to a few of the speeches and trying to draw quite a lot of sense out of it. Basically, one of it is like our people don't actually attend antenatal clinic. Like everyone said before, I think most of those things nowadays, I can say most of the fear of foreign people being in England is actually dying down a little bit when you compare people who one of the speakers said came here that they are under refugee status. Their status is not correct. A lot of people were living in fear. So there's so many things that would have been their right, but that right has never been brought forward because of the fear they got it, because of immigration problem, because of they don't know how they're gonna handle those issues. So that has actually led our people to actually kind of isolate themselves, not being able to speak, not being able to do a lot of things. And this is the reason why most foreigners are facing England today. Again, when you go to the professor for being a midwife, I don't know what is the statistic. A lot of foreigners were not being able to be midwife because when you apply that you want to do midwifery, I remember vividly, most foreign people are pushed to go and do mental health or general nursing. Yeah, you can't even to be a pediatric nurse. That is the percentage that they take foreigners in there is a very small one. And even in the midwifery section, the percentage, the fortunate ones that foreign people that got in is very low. Or probably the ones that are born in this country had the chances to become those midwives. So, like we are saying that if you want to know the cause of my problem, I know, yes, we are all the same, we are all the same human being, but you cannot know that problem without knowing the cause root. Because it's only take the person from my cultural background, it's not discrimination or anything to know what I'm going through. But if you realize the statistic of NHS, I sat there on the computer and I actually click. If you look at the top rankings, a lot of foreigners or Black people are not there that are the top management. And because the ones that are the top, our voices are not just heard, sometimes it's assumed. One of the things that I really, really find funny, I might not be the right person, maybe everyone will say, is she cuckoo? It's like when they introduce like breastfeeding, yeah? I know where I came from. Breastfeeding is the key food when my parents have children back in Africa. So nobody else, even when I had my children in this country, I'm not expecting anyone to teach me to breastfeed my child. That's the fact. Because it's natural. It's there. That's even when sometimes when I was in the hospital, I was told that, oh, you cannot give anything to that child. It just has to be breast milk or only. I laughed. I said, I've seen my parent giving natural water to that child and a breastfeed to back it up. It's like you just eating without drinking anything. Yeah. So when they have the money to implement things that are bigger for our society, they are able to do so. And it magnifies in the right way. But because we don't have those facilities, we are actually not being able, even though it's been there donkey years, in our society, but we are not able to do it because we don't have the financial, the resources to do so. But when it's done in the Western culture, we embrace it quite a lot because we met it in our our generation, but we are unable to apply it. So to me, there's a whole lot of things with this childbirth and that, just like I don't know what the name of the other speaker, because she knows, she's been to Nigeria, she knows some of the statistics, and these are the people like forum like this that you created, wherein they can come in, some of those big top, management. They could listen and know that what goes on in our society is real. It's not just assuming. Like now we are talking about FGM. FGM has been there from donkey years, from our generation. There are a lot of Black people who got FGM, but that wasn't an issue until recently it's been brought up from FGM advocates. So there's so many things. They cannot learn without, accepting. Yes, they accept us, but how fully are we accepted? How fully do they know about our culture? So for me, that's what I'm saying. The cultural background, the educational side of things, it's very, very important for them to be able to know that. And if they don't know that, we could be talking, because I don't know who does the statistics. They could do it on different people and assume that, yes, we've done it with all ethnic backgrounds. No, it's never the same. Maybe my child born here I experience and me born in Africa coming with that experience is totally different aspect of all things. So you can't say, oh, because you've done it on a Black person, that Black person is born in this country who have never stepped in Africa, you've known all the statistics. So that's just my saying. I think forums like that is very important, and our best we can learn. I think learning is the process. Just like I say, sometimes when I'm talking, somebody will tell me that, oh, don't shout, and I'll tell them, sorry, I'm African, I don't whisper. Yeah, because I'm not shouting, but that's the way I speak, so that I don't repeat myself 10 times. So they need to
Thank
know
you
our
so
cultural
much for that,
aspect.
Rachel.
Brilliant.
Honestly, thank you for so much for that. This is all about cultural sensitivity, cultural awareness. Before we round up, I know Rachel Meadows is here and she had something that she wanted to say. So Rachel, the other Rachel.
Sorry, I was just eating something. I just wanted to talk about postnatal depression or antenatal depression, because somebody, I think, I can't remember the name, we went through the depression or mental health. I think some of, I am talking this through experience, because I had my daughter who had suffered both postnatal and antenatal depressions. And when it came to support her, she didn't get fully supported. I can say that because that is the truth. She suffered so much until the second month of her baby was taken away from her. I didn't think it was right for her to be the baby to be taken away from her. I think she needed support, both the child and the mother. And it has been so painful, because my daughter has never been the same again since the baby was taken away from her. Not even herself, all the family, all of us, we are struggling to, everything, even the son, because I took over and I took the baby from the social services because I couldn't bear the baby going away from the family. But I don't think the assessment that was she was given that time was enough. 2 months was not enough for her, the baby, to be taken away from her at all. I don't think there is enough evidence that like the baby can be taken. The baby can be taken away because maybe the baby is not safe, but to end up coming from a foster carer, like to be fostered, adding up to adoption was not fair at all. That's all what I wanted to say. And it was Redding Barrow who did that. And it hurts me so much because it ruined my family badly. I have my grandson here with me. He's 9 years and I am happy to stay with him, but it was not fair for the mother not to have her child anymore. That's all what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Rachel. And again, sorry for your experience, but thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that with us. We're going to try and bring this to a close. I know everyone has still got so much to share, and there's still so much to talk about. But I'm going to bring in James to just kind of give us a summary. I mean, after that, if you still want to, talk, have a little discussion, still can. But James, please.
Yeah, thank you, Stella, and thank you, everybody. And I think it's like I'm the second man to talk about this topic today, which is also something that we all need to understand, that it's so difficult for women to embrace the involvement of men. Not that some men don't offer, but it's such a big taboo. And I think I've listened to all of the beautiful presenters and the energy that they have, but it's now become time when perhaps couples need to look at how you collaborate on this topic or this process. I'm a mental health practitioner and a CBT therapist. I really want to look at some of the depression and anxiety that we experience with people who have had a baby or have gone through the process. But from an African perspective, I've also done some reading recently, researches in Botswana, in Tanzania, and also Nigeria. In fact, Nigeria was done by 3 ladies. Let me just see. There's a lady called A.O. Adewuya, and then there's Y.A. Olugun, and there's O.S. Ibibami. Basically, their research was just suggesting what somebody mentioned about the attendance, the emergency response, and also the aftercare or continuity in care. But when we bring that understanding to us here, I want to come from a cultural dimension. I've looked at the depression and anxiety from 3 past aspects. Before the pregnancy, for us African, not all, but majority of us, we have to anticipate. Am I going to give birth to a child in this relationship or in this marriage? And when somebody was talking about pressure, that's another pressure that we are under. And sometimes the pressure is not just from the immediate family or your husband or the community around you, it's also from afar. Sometimes we get pressure even from Africa, where we all come from. You come here with your wife, or you married, and your parents or the parents check in, have you had a baby yet? Is there any indication that this woman is going to bear a child, and all of those things, forgetting the fact that men can also have problems. So imagine that pressure on that lady, on that woman, is going to cause them depression and anxiety. And some of the reason why perhaps they don't engage, from what I have been able to gather, is the fear of how they might be judged by a white midwife, and all of those torments. I mean, if they were to ask you, why are you depressed? I'm depressed because of the expectation of my mother-in-law in Africa and all of those things. So these are some of the impediments, if you like, some of the difficulties. In fact, I'm planning to undertake a research around couples therapy, around allowing your husband to be with you in the labor house and the labor room, whether that will have any impact on your postnatal health in terms of continuity, in terms of recovery from all of those things, whether it can make any sense at all, whether people can accept it, whether it can bring a big change in terms of the family setup. So I'm planning to do that as well. Hopefully I will join some people already who have indicated some interest in that regard. And if you move from before the pregnancy itself, the stress and the anxiety you get, and during the pregnancy, the torment, the things that happen to you, who is available, who is supporting you, even when we talk about midwife, sometimes when we look at the holistic approach concepts in terms of pregnancy, from what I have been able to learn about, is really a community holistic. There's nothing to suggest individualized holistic approach. They approach you from the base of your community. They put you into that big box, all the Black women, all the Black people. And when we go for treatment, the fact that there's a preconceived idea about our constitution that is very strong, we are very enduring, we persevere. And maybe this is what we present to people, because if they ask us, what pain are you experiencing? And they say from 1 to 10, sometimes we say 1, because we think we can cope. And so sometimes giving us treatment becomes a bit difficult for them. And if they happen to give us treatment, it's going to be a double whammy dosage, because they think our constitution is very, very high or very, very strong. So moving away from the whole stress you get within pregnancy, which is perinatal period, you have all those sadness, low mood, and you feel a bit really irritable, feeling a bit sad, comfort eat, and all of those things. For us Africans, how do we really link to those things? How do we understand that that is depression? Because when I ask some people, really, what do you mean by depression? Sometimes they don't even know how it's called in their own local languages. So we interpret this thing from the white man's perspective. So how are we going to understand that it's affecting us if we don't even know how to internalize it from our own perspective? So that's another issue that we need to be doing. And the only way we can do this thing, coming together and also accessing services. And when you access services, you have control over how you describe your illness. Don't allow somebody to describe your illness and give it to you on a plate and you answer, yes, this is what I'm feeling. Tell them how you feel. And don't be ashamed, don't be scared, don't be anxious, because the way you explain yourself is the way they will handle your diagnosis. If you don't, they're going to give you a label that perhaps does not actually mean anything to you. And to engage with that treatment is not going to be easy for you because it doesn't come your way. And that's why I talk about the language, the appropriate language that is used on the maternity ward. When you're dealing with your midwife, when you go to your GP, how is that language sitting down well with you? Do you understand it? Are you able to relate to it? So that's the perinatal period we're talking about. And it's all the symptoms of typical depression. You know, I can name them the whole afternoon, but these are some of the things. You don't concentrate, you feel isolated, you feel a bit under the weather, you don't feel comfortable, you lose appetite, so you gain appetite, you comfort it, you become irritable easily. And so when you're irritable easily in the house with your family, with your husband, how do you expect them to engage? How do you expect you to engage? So that can also begin to create domestic abuse. So it's really important for us to understand some of these things. And when we look at the postnatal depression also, that is the postpartum aspects. I'm not a midwife, but from my own work as a CBT therapist, it's really important to understand that. We get a lot of stress after giving birth, because even when they used to talk about delivery planning, birth planning in this country, I don't know whether it's still existing, maybe it is, but when that planning actually is happening, who is involved? Who actually is the one initiating the plan? Who is in that plan? How is that planning done? Who is involved? Do you involve your husband? Do you involve the whole family? Because this has to be holistic. Is it individualized? Is it really based on what you want? Where do you want your delivery to take place? Who do you want to be there? How do you want it to happen? So some of these, I think somebody mentioned about being empowered to find those things, to be able to be in control and demand them. And as we increasingly become a smart society, I'm saying this because our society is becoming more smarter, and you don't need to rely on anybody. You can stay in your house and get food. People can deliver. Smartphones, smart cars. You can talk to your car. Take me to PPH. They can take you there. Take me to RBH. They can take you there. So everything's becoming smarter around us. So we need to be involved. We need to be able to take charge. We need to go to these maternity meetings or toddlers meetings. How many of us do go there? Because we don't have the time. We need to create time as well. And that will bring me back to our socioeconomic status as well. Because if you want to make money, and the money is not only for your family here, but you have family back home. So where do you have time to attend all of those meetings? So we need to sit as a community, as individuals, to begin to prioritize what is really important to us. Yes, I can totally understand there are people back home we need to feed, but you drop day to day, those people will exist. You need to empower them to be able to rely on themselves rather on you, because you have a lot to do here. So really, when somebody was talking about depression, these are the source of our own depression and anxiety. And it's really around the guilt, the shame, you know, when you express some of these things. And our tradition is rich. We don't talk about those things. Childcare, how do we look after our own children? I'm not saying bring tradition that can really risk your child, but things like washing, cleaning, and taking them out to the playground and all of those things. When I was growing up in Africa, Mom, we never stop me. I will go roaming about and in the evening come back dirty and wash me and all of those things. It's not in this society, but we need to adapt what we can adapt to our own culture, and we need to really influence our environment. That's what white people do a lot. They look at the environment and they can influence it by changing it. So we can actually change this. So we need to access services. If you're depressed, don't keep it to yourself. You know, you can talk to friends, but I think professionals are also in a better place to help you. And your GP is also a good point to call on, 111 and all of those things. And like a lot of people have said, particularly those midwives that we have among us, they have given us a lot of opportunities today. So it's an open door for us to enter. So please look after yourself. And if you find any of this information a little bit challenging, you want to take it further, please, I'm available to give advice from a CBT perspective. And there's so many other people also available. We have mental health services here. We have RBH, and Jamie Kuruma is also available. And there's so much richness in our community. Please, let's connect and let's talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James. And so when you did speak, a couple of hands went up. So thank you so much, James, for that summary. We have gone over time, but because there's so much more that we said, I know Jamie had her hand up before. So I want to bring in Jamie just like a minute or so, and then Florence, and then Victor Koroma, just to completely wrap things up, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity again. Just wanted to go back to a couple of things. They are all intertwined into each other. However, just wanted to go back to what Constance was saying. I think that brings us back to the fact that we want women who are within the childbearing age to tell us exactly what they want, what their experiences are. So we've got this survey that is going on, and we're really encouraging women who are within the childbearing age to access this survey, and it's going to be in the Maternity Forum website and also at the RBH website, and get women to actually access that survey and tell us exactly what their experiences were. And what we can do. So obviously collecting those common themes are the best ways to be able to address these issues that we are all highlighting. However, from my experience of being a midwife for how many years, and I've worked with people like Florence, and I've worked with Nadia when they were all practicing as midwives, they would all agree with me that we have to take responsibility. And I'm sure it's been mentioned, and I had a break wherein I wasn't here to hear other speakers, but I think as Black ethnic minorities, we know we are minorities, we know we are disadvantaged. However, for us to be able to make these changes and for our voices to be heard, we need to engage, we need to take responsibility, we need to make this change to happen. And therefore, I'm emphasizing on us taking responsibility and engaging in these forums and to speak up, and for these messages to be cascaded to the right people for us to be able to see change. On a mental health perspective, that can go on as well, because obviously, as being a midwife, I have seen women who've gone really down the drain. I've seen women who have actually got a lot of support from us, and we are able to give these supports when we are aware of these problems well ahead of time. And even from the onset of booking in with the community midwives, these are screenings that we do go across. We ask women about their mental health status. We ask to be able to address and to be able to screen these women and get them the right service or the right help that they're going to be needed, so that we are able to tailor make their maternity care to be around what they as an individual are going to be needed. However, if we're not being honest and open from the onset, because that's the other thing as well, is how honest are we in terms of when we are coming up with being asked these questions, that we are actually being honest and actually saying, yes, this is the mental health problem I've had, this is the medication I'm taking, this is the help that I'm going to be needing or I've had before, and we can then see how best we could tailor this care to these to our women, to us as BAME women. I cannot emphasize it more than what I've already said. It is about us taking responsibility. It's about us accessing the service ourselves, our network, and being able to reach out. We can go round and round in circles. And if I could emphasize on what Constance did say about partners being present in labor ward, when you look at the research, majority of the people who are actually accessing these surveys and whatnot, it's what they are actually saying. The women want their partners to be present. However, if you don't want your partner to be present in the labor ward, you've got to speak up. You've got to just say, okay, I'm not having my partner, or my partner is not fit to come in, but I'd rather have my mom or my aunt or my sister to be present. So we still are flexible in terms of how we are making it possible for women to have their choices. It is what you want. It's as an individual. So we just have to be very mindful of the modern day about the individual women. What they want is what we can give to them, and not just going with the perception that this is what we think women would want. It's what the women are actually saying they want. I hope I've emphasized enough, and I've actually said what I could pick up from majority of what I've heard in terms of how we are going to make a headway and making our maternity experiences better for us and for our upcoming other generations yet to be unborn. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Jamie. Sister Florence.
Yes, thank you, Jamie. And again, it's been great working with you and Sister Nordia. Back in the days, it was good fun. And again, I don't think we had maternal mortality rates as bad as this. So that's something to say for. Going forward, from what I've gathered of today, Sister Constance, absolutely amazing information you have there. Please do connect with me. I've got some things that we can be doing together. And Brother James, thank you so much for that input on the mental health. I think for the sake of Laura, who's coming from, Berkshire, Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire, it might well be that we need a perinatal stroke pre-pregnancy counselling opportunity. I don't want us to put all Black or ethnic minorities into a bubble and say, okay, they're all mental health. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is there is a line where mental health is required in maternity services, and to address that, you do need to bring the professionals together to look into that. And that might be an area which can address some of the fears, the stigmas, the lack of disclosure, some of the anxieties, some of the traditional issues from back home, pressures of mother-in-law and so on and so forth, and addressing those in a way that is tailor-made to meet the needs of the women and their partners. And so if we have a package designed for women to go to, and it could be an online package, whereby you don't necessarily have to go to the hospital or go and face somebody or be in a classroom. Sit down and listen and learn about what your fears and anxieties are, just like the poll we did just now. Highlight those issues and see if we can get some mental health input as well as some midwifery input to address those issues. These are like maybe BME designed antenatal classes, and especially to address the younger generation who are unfortunately unemployed, a lot of them at the moment, and therefore they will be anxious about how they're going to go through labor, how they're going to get pregnant, how they're going to raise a family, and if these issues are not addressed or discussed before they even get there, then again, that's another anxiety and another mental health issue. So I hope that's kind of put a little bit of a taste into the mental health and midwifery, combining efforts together to create an online package available for the BME community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Florence. I do believe Victor, I think, just have updates from Victor.
Right. Thank you very much. And sorry I wasn't able to be part of the forum from the start. I had to attend a conference which finished just after 1:15. Yeah, I think just to address the information I posted, a flyer for the Health on the Move post that will be hosting here at ACRE, I think kind of addresses two points that James, Jamie, and Florence have emphasized, and that is about ourselves taking responsibility for our health outcomes. Often enough, and I still, after so many years of living in the UK, I still find myself answering the question, how are you? And I say, I'm fine, even though I could be having the worst day that you can imagine. And that often points to the fact that, A, I'm either ignoring what is happening, or maybe I don't understand what is happening. So the Health on the Move bus is meant to address some of those, misunderstandings that we tend to get. So please, I would love for you to not only share it, but to encourage people to attend, because we've been making noise with the CCG, the two health trusts in the local area, Royal Berkshire and Berkshire Healthcare Foundation, to say, health, access to health for the ethnic minority communities leaves much to be desired. So they're beginning to respond by trying to place some of these events and activities in the heart of the community. Hence, they'll be here next week, Thursday and Friday. So please share the information with friends, colleagues, your networks. If you represent an organization, your members, and yeah, to just turn up in numbers so that the health service providers would know, that there is a body of people that need to be taken seriously, that need to achieve good health outcomes just as everybody else. But often enough, we put so much else ahead of ourselves, of our individual needs, which then creates a problem for us. And just to let the forum know, our partnership has been successful in getting funding from NHS charities to start a wellbeing hub here at ACRE. It has been a dream that Cecily, myself, and other members of the community have been discussing for the last 5 or 6 years as we were trying to address health inequality. And in particular, the fact that we tend to present for healthcare when we're time critical. So the aim of the hub is to bring that information directly into the community so people don't feel pressurized that I have to go into hospital to be able to talk to a health professional. We'll be inviting them into the hub to run sessions similar along the lines of what we hear online. So yes, that's my update. And I'm counting on your support. Yeah, starting with the health van next week, Thursday and Friday. Over to you, Stella.
Oh, thank you so much, Victor. I see you posted it in the chat. So if anyone wants it, it's posted in the chat. If you just scroll up a little bit. Thank you, Victor. Thank you.
And many of you on our database would have received it by email as well.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you everyone for staying behind. I know we have gone a lot, quite a bit over time, but thank you so much for just staying with us. I think just the last bit, just gonna bring in Nina just to give us updates, and then that'll be it for today.
Yes, thank you, Stella. I've put it on the chat. There is the draft strategy is out for consultation at the moment, and I've put the link on the chat. If you remember, back in January, I came to the forum to present on the consultation that was going on to choose the priorities for the strategy. So now the strategy has been drafted, and we're just looking at what you think is contained in the strategy, so that when it's before it gets finalized. So if you have time, it's finishing on the 4th of August. Just give your views, that would be really great. again, going along with what Victor said, is all about ensuring our choices for health and well-being are being heard at high levels. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena. So that brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you so much, everyone, for your contributions. The speakers, I think it has been very informative. And again, the contact information for anything that anyone's mentioned or events are in the chat. So please do take a scroll. Also, just kind of network with each other as well. I feel like a lot of people know each other already, but yeah, thank you everyone for that. So yeah, that is the end of today's session.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.